Welcome, everyone, to what is undoubtedly one of the most monumental, paradigm-shifting, and highly anticipated updates in the modern era of Philippine basketball. If you are a fan of Gilas Pilipinas, if you're someone who lives and breathes the sport, and if you understand the absolute heartbreak and soaring triumphs that come with following our national team, you're going to want to sit down, pay close attention, and take in every single word of this massive update. We are looking at a tectonic shift in the landscape of our national squad. Today, we are breaking down three incredibly crucial interconnected stories that have just hit the wire, stories that will unequivocally redefine the future of Gilas Pilipinas on the international stage. First and foremost, we are diving deep into the absolute bombshell surrounding Remy Martin, the Samahang basketballing Pilipinas, and the long-awaited, almost mythical passage of his status as a local player. 4 years, this has been a white whale of Philippine basketball. We are also going to dissect the fierce, uncompromising, and absolutely electric mindset of RJ Barrientos, who has made it abundantly clear to the world, to his teammates, and to the fans that he simply does not want to lose in a Gilas uniform. His competitive fire is reaching unprecedented levels, and we need to talk about what that means for the team's culture. And finally, we're going to look at the masterstroke decisions being made by the coaching staff, the deliberate, calculated, and visionary moves by Coach Tim Cone, and the brain trust of the national team as they navigate this influx of talent and ego. Let us set the stage properly, because to understand the gravity of this news, we have to understand the history of our struggles with international basketball regulations. For the longest time, the passionate 110 million Filipinos has been somewhat handcuffed by bureaucratic red tape, specifically the infamous FIBA eligibility rule that requires dual citizens to acquire their passport before the age of 16 to be considered a local player. This single rule has been the bane of our existence. It has kept exceptional talents, players with legitimate Filipino blood, players who bleed the colors of our flag, from representing the country as locals. It has forced us into agonizing decisions about our single naturalized player spot. Justin Brownlee has been a godsend, a modern-day hero, and Ange Kwame has given us his heart and soul, but the limitation has always been there. We have always been one piece short, one dynamic guard, or one versatile wing away from truly dominating the Asian region and making a deeper dent on the global stage. Enter Remy Martin. When you say the name Remy Martin in Philippine basketball circles, you are speaking about a player whose talent is undeniable, whose resume speaks for itself, and whose desire to play for the Philippines has never, ever wavered. We are talking about an NCAA national champion, a dynamic, explosive, hyper-athletic guard who dominated the pack, 12 with Arizona State, and then brought his championship pedigree to the Kansas Jayhawks. Remy has been vocal, almost desperately so, about wanting to don the blue and white. He has attended practices. He has mingled with the players. He has done everything in his power to show his commitment. But that FIBA rule always stood like an impenetrable brick wall. Until now. The news circulating right now, the reports coming out regarding the Samahang basketball in Pilipinas and their relentless, tireless efforts behind closed doors, point to a massive breakthrough. The SBP has been batting for his local passage, navigating the labyrinth of FIBA's legal and competitive frameworks, arguing for the recognition of his heritage, and looking for every possible avenue to get him cleared not as a naturalized player taking up that precious single quota, but as a local. The implications of this cannot be overstated. It is a monumental victory for the SBP if this pushes through completely. It means we are adding a legitimate, top-tier, internationally experienced point guard to our local rotation. It changes the entire geometry of the court for Gilas Pilipinas. It gives us a weapon of mass destruction in transition, a player who can break down any defense off the dribble, and a leader who knows what it takes to win at the highest levels of collegiate basketball. This development alone would be enough to break the internet, but it is just the first piece of the puzzle we are looking at today. Because as we look at the backcourt, as we dream of Remy Martin pushing the pace, we also have to talk about the homegrown fire, the pure, unadulterated swagger and killer instinct of RJ Barrientos. RJ is a player who carries the weight of a legendary basketball surname, but he has carved out his own fierce identity. From his phenomenal days in the UAAP with the FEU Tamaraws, to his trailblazing journey in the Korean Basketball League, where he won Rookie of the Year, to a stint in the Japan B-League, and now his highly impactful presence in the PBA under coach Tim Cone with Barongi Ginebra, RJ has evolved. He is no longer just a prospect. He is a certified assassin on the court, but more than his lethal step-back three-pointer, more than his dazzling court vision. It is his mentality that is making headlines right now. RJ Barrientos has drawn a line in the sand. He has made it viscerally clear that he is sick and tired of moral victories. He doesn't want to just compete. He doesn't want to just put up a good fight against European or top-tier Asian teams. He absolutely refuses to lose. This is the exact kind of emotional volatility and competitive arrogance. And I use the word arrogance in the best possible sporting sense that a national team needs. You need players who are borderline offended by the idea of losing. When RJ steps onto the court for Gilas Pilipinas, he is bringing a level of intensity that forces everyone around him to elevate their game. The synergy between potentially cleared Remy Martin, bringing his American basketball polish and speed, and RJ Barrientos, bringing his international professional experience and ruthless mentality, is a terrifying prospect for the rest of Asia. It is a backcourt combination that boasts speed, shooting, playmaking, and, most importantly, an unyielding desire to dominate. But having talent and having a team are two very different things. This brings us to the third, and perhaps the most critical pillar of today's news, the coach and team decision. Having a locker room with Justin Brownlee, June Fajardo, Kai Sato, Dwight Ramos, Scotty Thompson, C.J. Perez, Chris Newsom, and now factoring in an aggressive RJ Barrientos and a highly anticipated Remy Martin, creates a beautiful, yet incredibly complex problem for the coaching staff. Coach Tim Cone is a maestro, a legendary tactician who has built dynasties based on chemistry, shared sacrifice, and meticulous execution. The decisions being made right now by the coaching staff are not just about who starts and who comes off the bench. They are about defining the very identity of this iteration of Gilas Pilipinas. How do you integrate Remy's high usage, dynamic playstyle into a system that relies on ball movement and equal opportunity? How do you channel RJ's fiery desire to win without disrupting the veteran hierarchy of the team? The decisions the coaching staff make in the coming days and weeks will dictate our success in the upcoming FIBA windows, the Asia Cup, and the march toward the next World Cup. They are evaluating every single variable. They are looking at the defensive pairings, the offensive spacing, the transition defense, and the half-court execution. The SBP has done their job by expanding the talent pool and fighting the bureaucratic battles. The players are doing their job by bringing their utmost passion and skill. Now, the ultimate responsibility rests on the shoulders of the coaching staff to weave these incredible individual threads into an unbreakable tapestry. We are standing on the precipice of a golden era for Gilas Pilipinas, an era where the excuses of the past are fading away, replaced by a roster so deep, so talented, and so hungry that anything less than gold, anything less than absolute excellence, will be considered a disappointment. Stay with me, because we are about to break down exactly how Remy Martin's local status changes our playbook, how RJ Barrientos is becoming the emotional anchor of the squad, and what Coach Tim Cone's master plan looks like. Let us transition into the heavy analysis, the deep dive into the absolute granular details of what this news means for Gilas Pilipinas. We need to dissect this from a basketball perspective, an administrative perspective, and a cultural perspective. Let us start with the Remy Martin situation because this is the linchpin of the current excitement. To truly appreciate the magnitude of the SBP's push for his local passage, we have to look at the player profile of Remy Martin. We are not talking about a fringe prospect. We are talking about a 6-foot point guard who possesses elite, world-class speed. In the international game, where the court can sometimes feel shrunk by zone defenses and massive, lumbering rim protectors, speed is the ultimate disruptor. Remy Martin is a one-man fast break. His ability to grab a defensive rebound or receive an outlet pass and be at the opposing team's free throw line in less than 4 seconds is something that cannot be taught. It is a physical gift that forces opposing defenses to collapse, panic, and make mistakes. During his time at Arizona State, he was a volume scorer, a player who could get you 20 points on any given night, hitting deep pull-up threes in transition, finishing acrobatically around the rim, and relentlessly attacking the paint. But what makes Remy truly special, and what makes a potential inclusion in the Gilas roster as a local so tantalizing, is what he learned at Kansas. Under Bill Self, Remy learned to sacrifice. He learned how to be a spark plug, a catalyst who doesn't necessarily need 20 shots to affect a game. He learned how to win a championship by making the right read, by pushing the tempo when necessary, and by playing tenacious, disruptive on-ball defense. This is a version of Remy Martin that Gilas needs. We don't necessarily need him to be the primary scorer. We have Justin Brownlee for that. We have Kai Sato inside. We have shooters on the wings. What we need is his ability to break down the first line of defense. Historically, Gilas has struggled against teams with elite ball pressure. When we face European teams or top-tier defensive teams in Asia, our half-court offense can stagnate if our point guards cannot turn the corner. Jason Castro, the legendary Blur, was the master of this. He could get into the teeth of the defense and create chaos. Since Castro's retirement from international play, we have been searching for that exact profile. We have brilliant guards. Scotty Thompson is a rebounding and playmaking genius. Chris Newsom is a defensive stalwart and a steady hand. Dwight Ramos is a versatile combo guard. But none of them possess that blistering, blow-by speed of a classic penetrating point guard. Remy Martin provides exactly that. If the SBP has truly found a passageway through the FIBA Article 3:21, a regulation, or they have successfully argued a special case based on his long-standing commitment and heritage, it opens up a world of offensive possibilities. Coach Tim Cone can run high pick-and-rolls with Remy and Kai Sato, putting the defense in an impossible bind. If the defense drops, Remy pulls up for the mid-range or the three. If the defense steps up, he lobs it to the 7'3" behemoth. It is a foundational basketball play that becomes virtually unstoppable with elite personnel. Now, let us pivot to RJ Barrientos. While Remy Martin represents the incoming force, RJ represents the evolution of the homegrown talent. The narrative around RJ right now is centered entirely on his mentality. He doesn't want to lose. It sounds simple, almost cliche, but in the context of international basketball, it is profound. There is a psychological hurdle that teams from developing basketball nations often have to overcome when facing global powerhouses. It is a subconscious acceptance of defeat, a feeling that keeping the game close is a victory in itself. RJ Barrientos completely rejects that premise. You can see it in his body language. You can see it in the way he barks out defensive assignments, and you can see it in his sheer audacity on the offensive end. RJ's development overseas has been crucial to this. By going to the KBL, a league known for its relentless pace, physical defense, and high volume of three-point shooting, RJ learned how to be a primary offensive weapon against players who were bigger and stronger than him. He learned how to navigate screens flawlessly, how to use hesitation moves to freeze defenders, and how to launch a shot with lightning-fast release. Moving to the B-League further refined his playmaking, teaching him how to read complex defensive rotations. Now that he is back in the Philippines, playing the PBA under Tim Cone, he is merging that international flair with the rugged, physical style of Philippine basketball. When you put RJ Barrientos in a Gilas jersey, you are injecting the team with a dose of fearless shot-making. When the shot clock is winding down, when the offensive sets are broken down, and when the crowd is holding its breath, RJ is the guy who demands the ball. He has that irrational confidence that all great scorers have. He truly believes that every shot he takes is going to go in, but beyond the scoring, it is his vocal leadership that is becoming indispensable. He doesn't want to lose, which means he is holding his teammates accountable. He is demanding better rotations, sharper closeouts, and harder screens. He is setting a standard of excellence that does not tolerate complacency. If a teammate misses a defensive assignment, RJ is there to let them know. That kind of internal policing, that kind of peer-to-peer accountability, is what separates good teams from great teams. This brings us to the ultimate crucible, the coach and team decision. We have a roster that is overflowing with talent, varying playstyles, and massive personalities. The SBP has provided the ingredients. Now Coach Tim Cone must cook the meal. The decisions facing the coaching staff are multi-layered. First, there's a rotation matrix. If you have Remy Martin as a local, and you have RJ Barrientos, Scotty Thompson, Chris Newsom, CJ Perez, and Dwight Ramos, how you distribute the minutes. This is where the concept of positionless basketball becomes a reality rather than just a buzzword. Coach Cohn will likely have to deploy 3-guard lineups, utilizing the size of Dwight Ramos at the small forward position or pushing Chris Newsom to the wing. Furthermore, the coaching staff must decide on the offensive philosophy. Tim Cohn is synonymous with a triangle offense, a system based on reading and reacting, spacing, and ball movement. However, with dynamic, ball-dominant guards like Remy and RJ, the system must adapt. We will likely see a hybrid approach. We will see elements of the triangle to establish post positioning for June Fajardo or to create isolation opportunities for Justin Brownlee. But we will also see a heavy dose of modern, European-style continuity pick-and-roll action. The coaches have to empower Remy and RJ to play to their strengths, play in space, pushing the tempo, and attacking off the bounce, while ensuring they do not freeze out the rest of the team. There is also the defensive side of the ball. While Remy and RJ are offensive dynamos, they are not the biggest guards internationally. The coaching staff's decision-making will heavily involve masking any physical disadvantages in the backcourt. This means implementing aggressive, trapping schemes, utilizing the length of Kai Sato and Japeth Adelar behind them to protect the rim, and demanding that the guards fight relentlessly over screens. The team decision is not just about who makes the final 12-man roster. It is about establishing a defensive identity that can withstand the physicality of teams like Australia, New Zealand, or the European giants. The integration of these players also requires delicate man management. Coach Cohn is a master psychologist. He knows how to stroke egos, how to challenge players, and how to build a cohesive unit. He will need to sit down with RJ Barrientos and channel that burning desire to win into constructive leadership, ensuring that RJ's intensity uplifts the team rather than alienates them. He will need to integrate Remy Martin, who is coming into a highly established locker room culture, making sure Remy feels welcome but also understand the hierarchy and the shared sacrifice required to wear the Gilas jersey. The SBP's local passage for Remy Martin is the key that unlocks a new tier of potential. RJ Barrientos' refusal to lose is the engine that drives the team's ambition, and the coaching staff's decisions are the steering wheel that will guide this incredibly powerful vehicle. We are looking at a Gilas Pilipinas team that is uniquely equipped to play multiple styles. We can play a slow, bruising, half-court game with June Fajardo and Justin Brownlee. Or, if the situation demands it, we can unleash a hyper-athletic floor spacing, fast-breaking assault with Remy Martin, RJ Barrientos, and athletic wings. This versatility is what has been missing in the past. We have often been predictable, relying too heavily on one or two players to bail us out. Now, the scouting report on Gilas Pilipinas just became a nightmare for opposing coaches. You cannot scheme to stop just one thing anymore. You stop the post. We hit you from the perimeter. You close out on the shooters. Our guards blow past you. This is the ultimate vision of the team decision-making process, to build an unpredictable, relentless, and unyielding basketball machine. As we draw this massive, incredibly detailed analysis to a close, we have to take a step back and truly appreciate the magnitude of this moment in Philippine basketball history. What we have unpacked today regarding the Samahang basketball in Pilipinas potentially securing Remy Martin's local eligibility, the absolute fire and competitive fury of RJ Barrientos, and a strategic masterclass being orchestrated by Coach Tim Cohn and his staff is not just news. It is the writing of a new chapter, perhaps the most exciting chapter in the long, storied, and often heartbreaking saga of Gilas Pilipinas. For every fan who has stayed up until the ungodly hours of the morning to watch our boys battle giants in foreign lands, for every fan who has felt the sting of a controversial call or missed free throw that ended a tournament run, this news feels like vindication. It feels like the tide is finally turning. The addition of a player of Remy Martin's caliber, holding local status, fundamentally alters the ceiling of this team. It resolves a glaring need for speed, penetration, and high-level playmaking that has eluded us for years. It proves that the SBP is willing to fight the administrative battles, to leave no stone unturned in their quest to field the absolute best possible iteration of the national team. And when you pair that level of elite, world-class talent with a homegrown, fiercely proud, and intensely competitive spirit of a player like RJ Barrientos, you create an alchemy that is rare in international sports. RJ is a heartbeat, the vocal leader who refuses to accept mediocrity, the player who will drag his teammates into the trenches with him, because losing is simply not an option in the vocabulary. But as we have discussed at length, potential is nothing without execution, and that is why the decisions made by the coaching staff in the coming days are the most critical piece of this entire puzzle. Coach Tim Cohn has the unenviable but thrilling task of molding this incredible collection of talent, ego, and passion into a singular, unified force. The tactical adjustments, the rotation decisions, and the cultural foundations he lays down now will determine whether this team merely looks good on paper or whether they achieve basketball immortality by conquering Asia and making a definitive statement on the world stage. We are witnessing the construction of a juggernaut. We are moving away from the narrative of just being happy to be there, of just aiming for a respectable showing. The parameters of success have changed. With a roster this deep, with the bureaucratic hurdles being cleared, and with a mentality that accepts nothing less than victory, the expectations are sky high, as they should be. The road ahead is not easy. There will be fierce competition, there will be adversity, and there will be moments where this team's resolve is tested. But for the first time in a very long time, it feels like Gilas Pilipinas has all the weapons they need to not just fight the battle, but to win the war. I want to thank you, the incredible fans, for joining me on this extensive deep dive. Your passion is what fuels this channel, and what fuels Philippine basketball. The conversation does not end here. In fact, it is just beginning. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to know exactly how you feel about Remy Martin finally suiting up as a local. How do you see him fitting into the rotation alongside our established stars? Do you agree with my assessment of RJ Abarianos being the emotional engine of the squad? And how do you think Coach Tim Cohn should manage these dynamic personalities? The comment section is yours, so let your voices be heard. Make sure you hit that like button if you appreciate this level of detailed, uncompromising basketball analysis. Subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell because as this story develops, as the official announcements are made, and as we get closer to seeing this new look Gilas Pilipinas step onto hardwood, we will be here to break down every single play, every single roster move, and every single moment of the action. Keep supporting the national team, keep the faith, and remember, in the world of Philippine basketball, the word impossible is just an excuse. Thank you for watching Laban Pilipinas, Para Se Bayan, and I will see you in the next one.